When he's not running his successful DJ company and rocking parties, Mike Walter is writing books about the music he loves. His latest effort is The Greatest Song Ever. For music fans and especially DJs, Walter's book asks a very basic question: what makes a great song? To find out, in the book he runs through 40 songs by offering anecdotes and compelling arguments about what makes them all great. And here today we will discuss the book's all-time tunes for the DJ community, and we'll get into a few other songs as well. So Mike, I think a lot of people know you and your reputation precedes itself, but for those who don't, a quick run through your DJ career. How did you start and how long have you been doing it?
So I actually, hot mine too. I went to broadcasting school back in the late 80s with an eye towards getting into radio. And there was a big multi-op in New Jersey at the time called Star DJs, and they actually had a great agreement with Connecticut School of Broadcasting where they would come in and talk to the students there about possibly mobile DJing instead of radio DJing, and that was my introduction to it. You know John Murphy, you remember
the inimitable one.
Yes, and so I started working for them, and I kind of cut my teeth for the first 4 years with them, and then decided to leave and start my own company. But that was my quick explanation of how I get into this.
And your company is called Elite
Entertainment, yes, up in New Jersey.
So Mike obviously has been doing a lot of parties for years and years and doing a lot of things for us at DJX, which we greatly appreciate, but it begs the question, how in the world do you find time to write books?
I don't watch a lot of TV, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Unless the Mets are on.
I love baseball because it can be like background noise. Like I can watch a baseball game and read a book, but I hear people talk about the programs that they watch and the series that they watch, and a lot of times I can't get involved in that conversation because I've never seen them, and I think that's, my parents called the TV the boob tube, and they basically raised us on, you get a half hour a night, what show do you want? And I think that's still instilled in me. Other than when I'm working out and I watch a movie, which I do a lot, I just don't spend a lot of time with the TV on, and I think that's what affords me a lot of time to read, but also then a lot of time to write.
So let's talk a little bit about your first book, just what got you into that, what made you do the first book, and then what prompted this particular subject.
So the first book that I wrote on the state in music, honestly, I wrote the book because I wanted to read the book. I thought to myself, there are books about on the state in history and on the state in medicine, and I just thought, wouldn't it be cool if somebody has written a book where every day there's a story about something that happened musically, and I Google searched it, and I searched it, and no one had written the book. So I said, maybe I should write it. And like Jake said, I actually started it as a series. I would just tell these stories on Facebook. And the first time I knew it had caught on, I was at a convention in Las Vegas. So I woke up late. I woke up about 8 a.m. there, which was 11 a.m. here, and I had 2 people had written on my Facebook page, hey, where's your music story today? And I thought, I didn't realize people were following it that closely. And so that helped motivate me to finish it. Once I was done, I made it through the entire year, putting Facebook posts up, and then I turned it into the book.
And then what was the germ of the idea for this one?
So this one came about, The Greatest Song Ever came about because of this book. I've gotten a lot of great feedback about On the State in Music, but one of my friends said, I love the book, but you don't opine in this book. You don't talk about, you lavish praise on a lot of albums and songs, but you don't say why. You don't get into depth. And I thought, well, I'm not a music critic. Is there an avenue for that? And then a couple of years ago, anyone who knows me knows I love the beach. I spend as much time at the beach as possible. And usually it comes to that time in late September where I'm on the beach and I know this is going to be my last beach day until next May. And I was about to pick up my beach chair, and I'm going to get emotional telling the story, but the line with autumn closing in, it just popped into my head. And I thought, that motherfucker, Bob Seger, he tricked me the whole time. If you listen to Night Moves, on the surface, Night Moves is about teenage sex. Backseat, teenage, what's the great line? Working on mysteries without any clues. Who can't relate to that, right?
Points all around.
Points all around. She was a dark-haired beauty with big, but really that song is about getting older and our mortality with autumn closing in. And I actually had to sit back down on my beach chair and I got weepy And so I wrote an essay about that song, and I sent it to a couple friends, and I said, is there anything here? And they were like, dude, this is a great essay, it's really insightful, and that inspired me to write a few more, and then that became the book.
So let's go into what formed your musical taste. Everybody has that moment where they sort of begin to follow music, or there's a song or a performance, or if you saw DXT on the Grammys doing the Herbie Hancock song, you're like, maybe I want to be a DJ. What formed your musical taste, and where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Queens, New York, born in '66, so I really started becoming aware of music in the mid-'70s. Like a lot of boys my age, I went through a Kiss phase first. The Kiss was like my first big band.
I was in the Kiss Army.
Yeah, and then I had this great picture of me in 7th grade with the Kiss belt buckle.
I didn't have the belt buckle.
So proud of that. And then for some reason I got into the Oyster Cult, Long Island band, Soft White Underbelly. Yeah. And then the biggest mind fuck for me was when I got my hands on Dirty Mind, the Prince album, the 80 or 81 album. 80. And that just changed everything for me. It introduced me to the guy who would become my favorite artist of all time, but it really just kind of opened up my mind to a bunch of different kind of music.
And a lot of different things.
Yes.
A lot of different subjects that maybe was a little early for you.
Yeah, I don't know that I understood Sister at 14. I probably was a couple years later.
There were a few other ones, yeah. But yeah, and Mike is a foremost Prince fan, one of the biggest Prince fans I've ever known. But it was radio, I think, that really got you going.
Yeah, so I listened to radio a lot as a kid. One of my first jobs was working at a local church, and I worked with a guy, the head maintenance guy was about 20 years older than me, and then we had another maintenance guy who had actually retired, so he was another 20 years older than him. And when the three of us worked together, we would take turns, everybody got an hour on the radio. So they were nice enough, I mean, think about it, they're working with a punk little teenager, but they would give me my hour, and I would listen to pop radio, and then when it was Brendan's hour, we would listen to WCBS FM out of New York, which was the oldie station at the time, 60s, 70s, and then when it was Bill's time, there was a big band station out of New York, I forget the name of it, but they would have the Make Believe Ballroom. And so we'd be listening to ballroom stuff, and I think that really turned me on to like all of this broad range of music, and it made me appreciate it all.
So when you started DJing, how did DJ sharpen the influence on your tastes? Because now music isn't just stuff that moves you, but it's also music that moves other people, and you have to identify that. How did DJing impact your tastes?
Well, I mean, obviously when it comes to dance music, that's something that we as DJs hone in on, right? We always have to look for the next banger, whether it's a new song or digging up an old song. And so that part of it, the DJing part of it, is just always makes me keenly aware of what's gonna rock a dance floor. But I don't limit myself to that because I'm well aware that music has multiple purposes. Rocking a dance floor is absolutely one, and as DJs, it's an essential one. But there are some songs that motivate you, right? Make you want to run through the wall. You listen to them when you're working out. There are some songs that move us to tears, and I think that's valuable too. As much as I love being positive and enthusiastic, I love a good weeper. I love a good song that just makes you want to turn the lights off and cry. So I think I just appreciate every emotion that can come from music, and I appreciate any song that can get in there and dig out whatever emotion it is. Make me want to dance, make me want to scream, make me want to cry. I love when any song can tap into that.
In the introduction of the book, you talk about what impresses you about a song, and you sort of go back to lyrical content, which isn't always so prevalent in a lot of dance music. But talk a little bit about that and some of the songs that move you with its lyrical content.
Yeah, listen, any great song has to have a great beat or a great rhythm or a great melody, whatever. But to me, if it doesn't have lyrics that move me, it misses the mark. And I talk about this in the introduction. I believe everyone should read poetry. I think poetry is a great literary way to consume very quickly, because most poems are short, brief, just like a pop song, and it's a great way to move us. But most of us don't read poetry, right? Most of us, once we got us out of Lit 101, we haven't read a poem since then. Music is a way to make us appreciate poetry without actually reading a poem, because that's what lyrics are poetry for the most part. A lot of times they rhyme. There's meter to it. The syllables matter. So really, what you're doing when you're singing along to a song, you're reciting a poem. When you stop and go, oh, what did that singer just say? You're analyzing poetry just in musical form. So yes, lyrics to me, if it's going to be a great song, and the 40 that make this book to me are great songs because they're poems, they're great poems set to music.
So let's get into the book a little bit and the sort of methodology of your choices. You know, there's certain songs that you would think would be in the book that aren't in the book because they're really just too obvious, which to me is what made the book a whole lot of fun, because you're making arguments for songs that maybe I skipped over. We had a conversation about a Bonnie Raitt song that was actually very, emotive in its way. What was your methodology in putting these together? Was it genre by genre? And how much did that impact your choices?
Well, I did want to have a large span. I'm a huge 80s fan. I could have written this book with 40 songs from the 80s, but I didn't think that would be as interesting. So I was very aware. I wanted to go back. I think the oldest song is from the 1930s. I cover a number of different genres. There's country, there's hip hop, there's rock, there's dance. Like I wanted to have a broad range. And yes, I purposefully avoided, I think Stairway to Heaven, I think Bohemian Rhapsody, I think those songs are phenomenal, but there are whole books about those songs.
Hallelujah
by there's a Leonard Cohen song in this book, but I never would have picked Hallelujah because to me, that song has already gotten its flowers. One of my goals, Jeff, you said that to me earlier. Jeff Brown and I were chatting. You said this song has made you re-listen to songs, just like you said, songs you're aware of, but maybe you skip through. You never really analyze them that closely. And if I accomplish that task with this book, then I've done what I set out to do.
Well, yeah, that was one of the funnest things I did after I went through your book. I literally spent like about 15 or 20 minutes listening to every song, and it took me a few days to get through it because I had to jot down some notes. We ended up doing a story, which is available on DJLife.com today. If you go check it out, there's a nice 6 pages on Mike. And he can talk.
Yeah, you notice?
But I'm also curious, of those 40 songs, what percentage of those do you think you've actually played at an event? Because they're not all danceable,
No. I'd say probably half, and of those, half of them are dance songs from events. Like Respect is in there. Obviously played at a lot of events. September's in there. By Usher is in there. So some of them are dance songs but there are also some songs that I might drop. Like I know you disagree with Guilty, the Barbra Streisand. I love that song. I just, to me, it's two of the greatest voices in the last 70 years woven together, and to me they make a better sound together, which is, you wouldn't think you could improve on Streisand, but they do. And I just think the love story that Guilty think about being in love with somebody where you go, this is so good it ought to be illegal. Like that's what they're saying. This relationship. So I love it, but you disagreed on that. Now
it wasn't like a disagreement because everybody's taste is their taste.
Exactly.
They're entitled to it. Of course, it's just certain songs come out at a certain point of your life, and we talked about this.
Yeah.
It's like you talk about a breakup, you're like, I can't even listen to that song. And I totally get that. But like a song like Guilty, I think it came out when I was, 19 or something.
Yeah.
And I was probably listening to the Butthole Surfers or something. I was listening to something very far off.
Yeah.
But we all have our moments. We went back and forth a little bit about the punk rock stuff too.
Yeah.
You need punk rock that has lyrics, and I like Beat on the Brat. I have no problem with that. So we want to get into some of the songs. And by the way, I am going to open this up at the end because I'm interested, and think about this, y'all. What would be your greatest song? So we're going to ask you that, and think of like maybe one sentence as to why. It can be something that's a dance floor favorite, or it can be just something that you absolutely love. So let's get into some.
Real quick, by the way, the challenge that I write at the end of this book is, I would love it if you have if you have a song that you're like, how did Mike not? Don't just give me the song, but write a similar essay. Tell me why. Like, don't just give me the song, but I would love for somebody to send me an email or make an argument. Go, I can't believe you didn't include the song, and here's what you missed in it.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into some of the songs here, and one more time. It's not necessarily about the choices. The thing I enjoyed about the book so much was the argument for the choices. You know, I grew up reading a lot of like rock and roll criticism. Like Mike is wearing the Almost Famous shirt. If you saw the movie, Philip Seymour Hoffman played a very famous rock critic named Lester Bangs. Lester Bangs is the reason I'm doing anything in music at all, because I read him when I was like in the 7th and 8th grade. So it isn't about Lester's taste, it was about his argument. I wanted to hear the argument why he loved the song or hated the song. So that's part of the fun with the book. So we're going to get into some songs, and we're going to do some of the rhythmic songs, some of the songs that you definitely have played, all of you have played. And let's start with one that I don't know anybody can really argue with, but it's Earth, Wind & Fire's September. Why do you think, I mean, to me, I went back and listened to it again, and yeah, when I was a kid, that was maybe a little overplayed, but then you listen to it and you're like, is there any more joyful song than that?
That's the argument I make in the book. We know as DJs, there are very few, there's no way the song is gonna fail me, right? Like if you drop September and the guests don't dance, you're in for it. You know you have a long night ahead of you. We all know that, right? And there are very few. I mean, there are very few dance songs that you can go, man, there's no, I'll bet my life the song works. And I think September's right up there at the top of that list. I know just the hook on it, the BPMs, you know, I wrote this on Facebook a while ago. I know it sounds kind of racism, but white people love 128. That's our rhythm right there. And September lands right there in that sweet spot. I think as DJs, we can go up from there or down from there with a smooth mix. You can drop down to 122 smoothly, you can jump up to 134, you can live at 130 for the next half hour if you want. So I just think that song works for so many. And the thing that I love about that song is so many people mishear the ba-de-ya. So many people think he's singing Party On. He's not. And again, this comes from a guy who loves lyrics. That is a nonsensical lyric. He's just saying ba-de-ya. That's what the line is, but so many people sing Party On. And as I point in the book, you're not wrong. If you want to sing Party On to that, it fits. It fits to the...
And speaking of nonsensical lyrics, let's talk about Michael Jackson's Wanna Be Starting Something.
I love that.
And I love the fact that you picked that song and not the obvious, which would be Billie Jean and some of the other ones. Let's talk a little bit about that song, why you picked it, and then let's get into a little MJ music as well.
So I try to avoid my personal connection with songs, but that one was impossible to do. I have the most vivid memory of dancing to that song in nightclubs back when Thriller was out. And if you were old enough, 1983, that was the year that's the year he became the king of pop. And that album was everywhere. And I remember dancing to that song in various clubs that I used to go to back in the day. And when that dropout comes out, 3/4 of the way through the song, goes into the Mama Say, Mama Sama Makusa chant, and then slowly starts coming in. If you listen to it closely, the first instrument that returns is the horns. And they just bop, 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 and they carry the rhythm until the end. That moment as a 17-year-old kid feeling like he could conquer the world on the dance floor makes it the greatest Michael Jackson song and worthy of inclusion into the
And funny enough, it has real Afro beats, which has found a new audience these days, and it's got the European.
And it's one of the reasons why we don't often play it as DJs, because if you ever noticed, it's a hard song to beat mix unless you have a remix that corrects it. The three doesn't land true, I think, on it. So you really have to focus on beat mixing more or use remix.
So let's get into sort of old school R&B, and I was just very happy to see that you had Aretha Franklin's Respect in there. How often do you break that one out, and why'd you pick it?
I'd say I play Respect at 80% of my weddings. To me, it's a female anthem. It's a female empowerment song. I will argue to anyone, I see people put this up, what's the greatest cover ever? To me, that discussion can't ever even take place. It's Respect. The conversation ends there. I think the reason why most people don't think of Respect as the greatest cover ever, a lot of people don't know it's a cover. Because Aretha Franklin, and that's what Otis Redding said. Otis Redding wrote the song. When she covered it, he said, it's no longer my song. He heard it and said, Aretha, it's your song now. And I think that's why most people don't think of it as the greatest cover ever, because they don't even remember, or maybe they were never aware that there was a previous version by Otis Redding. But yeah, I mean, that's And again, talk about BPMs, you're around 114, so you can start your set there, or you can use it as a perfect song to, if you're coming out of a hip hop set, you can bend it down to get out of it, yeah, for example, and then bend it up to get into your 120. So it's just a perfect song for that.
So getting into, I guess, 90s hip hop, when there was a lot of big hip hop songs, I always tell a story about Notorious Big's Hypnotize. I was DJing at a bar in Port Washington, and when things were starting to dwindle, when the night was getting a little like maybe we ought to wrap it up, that was the song that would get everybody back into things. As soon as you played Hypnotize, it was just off the chain. Why'd you pick it?
Yeah, Hypnotize to me is just one of the great party hip hop songs. Going back to, there are very few songs that are going to fail us. Unless a client says no rap or no hip hop, which I get from time to time, unless I have that restriction, Hypnotize was dropped at almost every one of my events. And you don't have to beat mix it because that opening hook, that opening bum, bum, it's so recognizable. People will rush to the dance floor. Like you said, when you play in bars, at weddings, people will trip over themselves to get to the dance floor. And it's a no-brainer. Tragically, Biggie didn't live long enough to see, his career go on from there. But that being his last release and his legacy, I think it's pretty lasting.
And yeah, there's two records. If you're a lyrics guy, you definitely love Biggie. So this is a big subject for Mike, so we'll try to make it short, but let's talk about Prince.
Spoiler alert, there is a Prince song in the book. Yes.
There is, but it's not the one that you would necessarily think. So Mike and I have had conversations in Prince's hometown even.
That's right.
Where, we've had very long Prince conversations. So there's a song called Get Off, that's with two T's, I think, right?
Yeah.
It is. It's a little raunchy.
Yeah.
So talk about playing that one and why'd you pick that one over all the other ones?
So first of all, if you know Prince, obviously, he could play in any genre. He did rock songs, he did pop songs, he did dance songs. Prince's funk stuff, to me, was my most favorite. When he was raunchy and grindy and what's Get Off, 105 BPMs, those are my favorite songs. That's my favorite genre that he does, when he's taking the James Brown sound and making it his own. And of all of the Prince funk songs, I think Get Off is the best. And it is raunchy, which is fantastic, but it's also funny. If you listen to the lyrics, he works some comedy, which Prince was actually, a lot of people don't know this, but he was actually a very funny man. And if you listen to the lyrics and really analyze that song, yes, it's raunchy, but he's also very funny. Yeah.
Let's talk about some other Prince songs that you play. I'm assuming Kiss is probably one of the top ones.
Yeah, Josh and I were playing a game last night at the bar. I do this with some of my DJs. I call it if then. If a client, sometimes a client will just ask for an artist, right? Like, play some Casey and the Sunshine Band. What song do you play? And if somebody just says play Prince, my two go-tos, what I consider to be his poppiest and easily accessible at events would be Kiss or 1999. Those are the two songs that I go to, which I think is one of the things I love about Prince. Most of his music is not played out for me. Like, I don't have to turn the channel. When I used to go to Prince concerts, when he started Kiss, I went to the bathroom because I knew there'd be no line, and it's kind of like, not that I don't like the song, but it's played out for me. That's the song I do at gigs. But I would say probably 75% of my weddings, I don't play Prince.
Okay, gun to your head, favorite Prince song of all time, you must answer it.
Well, Get Off.
That is your favorite?
Absolutely, my absolute 100% favorite song, Get Off, is that one is my favorite one.
Okay.
And by the way, number 2 is Face Down. That's an obscure one, but another funk track. He has a song called Now, which is another funk track. Those are my favorite songs by him.
Lady Cab Driver for me.
Lady Cab Driver.
That's another dream.
Yes.
So we're going to get into Motown, which is obviously a very big subject, but you picked The Supreme Someday We'll Be Together, which is their finale of, I think that's a 1970s song, maybe?
Yeah, as the Supremes were breaking up, that was their last single. They actually thought about releasing it just as a Diana Ross solo.
They were Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Yeah, by that point, yeah. But yeah, that song, that's one of those songs, if you can listen to that song and not be cheered up, then you and I just don't have the same emotion. Because if I'm in a bad mood, if I put on Someday We'll Be Together, it perks me up. And the way Diana Ross answers the sing someday, and she goes, say it again. I love that song. It perks me up.
And what about other Motown go-tos?
I mean, as far as gigs, Probably Ain't Too Proud Today. Some of the Four Top stuff, like Same Old Song or Same Old, yeah. I know Respect isn't a Motown song, but it's of that era.
No, that's Southern R&B. Memphis.
Yeah, correct. But a lot of people would lump it in as a Motown, would call it a Motown song, and I'm not going to correct them, even though I know it's not factual. But yeah, and as far as Diana Ross goes, if I'm playing a Supreme song, it's usually probably Stop in the Name of Love. But again, Someday We'll Be Together is just such a happy song.
Let's get back into the 90s, 2000s, R&B, hip-hop. Usher's Yeah is another one. I always distinctly remember I was in Montreal going to a Braves Expo series, and with a buddy, we walked into this like DJ bar that was just not happening. There were people in there was like about 20 people drinking, staring at the DJ. He put Yeah on, and all of a sudden the place was up for grabs in seconds. It's another one of those instant classic songs. Why'd you pick that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a party song about going to a club and partying. So lyrically, it just fits perfectly.
With Little John.
Right. With that opening hook, is just, that's one of those songs, don't bother beat mixing it, just start it, no matter where you are, just start it from there. Don't say a word, let the song do the heavy lifting for you, and it will. We all know that. So yeah, and that's one of those, unlike a lot of songs from that era that we played when it was popular and then it went out of vogue and then it came back, that one for me never left my playlist. That is, 20 years old, and it's been in my playlist the entire time, which is rare for a lot of those for songs of that era. But yeah, that's a no-brainer.
And I was very happy to see that you picked Jay-Z's 99 Problems, which is one of the funniest songs ever.
Yeah, talk about humor. I just, when I ran this morning, I listened to some of the songs we were going to be talking about, and I listened to 99 Problems, and it really did. It had me laughing. First of all, the line, "You can kiss my whole asshole," is so fucking funny to think about it.
Well, you've never said that to a cop.
No, but the way he talks to the cop when he gets pulled over, I'm sure it's a fabrication and fictionalization, but how funny would it be, if the cop said to you, "You know why I pulled you over?" and you said, "Am I a mind reader?" Like, can you imagine how quickly you're going to get that ticket? And then the cop saying,
you got a ticket.
And then the cop saying, "I pulled you over because you're doing 55 at a 54, which is so funny because there's no such thing as a 54 mile an hour speed limit. But just that line, I just think it's Jay-Z and some of his funniest and best. And also, what a great melody track that they put together to rap over,
And we'll come back to Bob Seger, and we'll hit a few more songs before we open it up to the audience. But you picked Night Moves as your number one. You wrote your initial essay about that. That was a record I listened to in the 8th grade over and over again. I looked up and saw Bob Seger when I was 13. So I'm very familiar with that record and that period when that was out. And again, you made me think about the song in a different way. Anything? Do you ever play that at gigs?
No, that's not really a gig song. Well, you know what? I recently had a client ask me to end the night with it, to be honest, and I thought it was a great ender. I would never pick it myself, but I thought it was a very cool ending song. But that's one of those songs that it has taken on a different perspective for me as I've gotten older. I'm 20-year-old or 18-year-old when I first heard that song. I didn't appreciate it. Like I said, that's why I sat down on my beach chair and almost started crying, because as I'm getting older, yeah, he's talking about mortality in that song. He's talking about, as the sand is running out of your hourglass. And listen, I'm 60. As Jake told the whole room earlier this morning. So it's not like I only got a year or two left, but I'm certainly playing the back nine at this point, right? And so summer being my most favorite season, every year when summer comes to an end, I think to myself, how many more do I have left of these? And that's what he's saying with autumn closing in. And to me, it just makes the hair on the back of my neck stand.
And he was all of what, like 32 or
yeah,
something?
That's the amazing part. How does a young man get that kind of perspective?
Well, the hippies didn't like people over 30, so
that's true.
That might have something to do.
But there's also the term, some people are old souls, and I think there's not that I believe in reincarnation, but I think some people just can tap into more mature emotions at a younger age, and Seger could obviously do it.
So let's talk about some of the fun pop songs that you put in here. This being the Northeast, I'm sure there's a lot of Billy Joel fans out there, and he picked the one song I would have picked, either this or Captain Jack, which is Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, which is really, it's like a movie, really. It's like the beginning, the middle, and the end. And Why'd you pick that one, and why'd you want to write about that one?
You know, it's such a fun song. Like Jim said, it is a movie when you think about it. It starts in the present, and then it goes back to the past, and then we end up back in the present, and it's not really clear whether Brenda and Eddie get back together again. And first of all, just saying those names, is there any more famous of a couple in music? Jack and Diane are close. I would argue Brenda and Eddie, it's an older song, but yeah, I mean, think about that's how, and Tommy and Gina from Living on a Prayer maybe, but I think that Brenda and Eddie would win the award for most recognizable fictional couple in music. That's how iconic Scenes is.
Let's get into a couple of other ones. Now, you're an enormous Leonard Cohen fan, just like I am. I don't know if y'all ever listen to Leonard Cohen. He's got kind of like a different kind of voice, but he literally was a poet before he got into, so his lyrics are really intense. And you can listen to a record and really, really be moved by what's going on. Also, a lot of the production is very stirring, and sometimes his records are a bit of an experience. So instead of Hallelujah, which is one of the most famous songs ever written and most recorded by a million other artists, you picked Anthem from the Future album, which is a hell of a good record. Why'd you pick Anthem? And explain to them what the song's about.
So the song is, you know, Cohen was a very religious, although he dabbled in every religion. He actually said, I think his quote was, "I never met a religion I didn't like." But so it's a very spiritual song, but not necessarily about any specific. It's not a Christian song or a Jewish song or a Buddhist song. But there's hints of spiritualism, which if you know me as a devout atheist, you say, well, why are you interested in that? There's a hint of optimism in that song that to me speaks to exactly what I want in my life. There's some pessimism, but then there's a line that he lets you know that everything's going to be all right. And as far as poetry goes, I knew I had to include a Leonard Cohen song in this, and that's just the song that moves me the most.
Carly Simon's You're So Vain was a 45 I had in the 4th grade, and it's still one of my all-time favorite songs, and the trivia question for that is, who sings background on it?
Anybody know? Oh, no?
Good guess, but no.
Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger was in the studio that day, and they asked him to sing on it, and if you listen close, you can hear it. It's very buried in the mix, but if you listen closely to that song, you'll hear Mick's very distinctive background vocal.
And there's something about angry pop songs that are on the radio that always caught my attention, and to me, that's one of the great ones. And it's also mysterious because you're not. Is it Warren Beatty she's singing about? Which former paramour is she talking about?
What I love about You're So Vain, though, is the irony in the fact that she's singing You're So Vain, I bet you think this song is about you. The whole song is about him. She recognizes the way he walks in the room, the color of his scarf, the way he dances. Like, girl, you're obsessed with this man. But she wants to sing You're So Vain. Well, maybe he's got a reason to be vain, but I also love, I don't know if you saw the news recently, and it made me very sad. Carly Simon, I think, is battling cancer or something. And listen, I hope she beats it and lives forever. But, so I hope she takes the mystery to the grave, I'm not wishing her, hope that's 20 years from now. But I love the fact that she's never revealed who it is. Let that be a mystery, take it to the grave, because to me, it's more exciting not knowing whether it's Warren Beatty or whoever, Cat Stevens has been. I'd rather not know.
Yeah, it's like the end of The Sopranos. Did Tony get shot or not?
Right.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
Well, so we found out. But a couple other ones for all you metalheads out there. Ozzy Osbourne's "Crazy Train" is a song that definitely stands the test of time. I remember rocking the Sabbath shirt over here. I remember distinctly being a freshman at the University of Georgia, and all the metalheads, when that record came out, it was in the morning, at night, it played it constantly. And over time, I was like, you know what, this song's actually really good. Why Crazy Train?
Yeah, that's one of those, it's one of those songs you can appreciate on two levels. It opens up with Ozzy's maniacal laughter, and then gets into one of the great heavy metal riffs of all time. So you can just appreciate it as this is Ozzy celebrating how crazy he is. But if you analyze the lyrics, he's talking about how crazy the world is, and he's giving us some insight on that, and he's warning us not to follow the leader who takes us down the wrong path. and the fact that we're becoming a nuclearized society. And so, like, you can appreciate it on the surface level, but if you really want to dig down, you wouldn't expect it from an Ozzy Osbourne at the height of his insanity, but he was trying to give us some light messages that maybe we should have listened to, or maybe it's not too late.
And I always liked that it was Chipper Jones' walk-up song.
I knew you'd work that into the
conversation. Well, of course I will. Talking Heads Once in a Lifetime is a really unique one too, because when you go back and listen to the Talking Heads, and I was an enormous fan at the time, they're kind of one of the weirdest pop bands ever to have, because they mixed everything. They had Afrobeat and very arty, weird, lyrics, and somehow they put it all together into a danceable track that stays in your head. Why'd you pick that, Talking Heads?
That's another song that I definitely didn't appreciate when I first heard it in my teens or however old I was. But the older you get, and I think we've probably all had those "how did I get here" moments, and not talking about like how did I get into this room? Everybody's like, what did I come in this room for? But literally, whether you're married or own a house or something, sometimes you sit there and go, fuck, how did I get here? And that's what he's singing about. And what he's saying is, don't let life go by so quickly that you have those moments. Stop and appreciate all of those things so that the water just doesn't keep rushing underneath you and you wind up being 60 going, how did I get here?
Yeah, there was another one of those sort of open-ended things where, is he criticizing suburbia? Right. It's like, or is he just telling like how he's feeling?
And it could be both.
It's up to you.
It could be criticizing suburbia, but also telling us, warning us, don't let life rush by.
Yes. Well, if you want a great Talking Heads song that criticizes suburbia and the middle 48, there's a great one on their second record. I'm spacing the name of it. Anyway, hit me up afterwards.
And speaking of Talking Heads, David Byrne has gone on to an incredible solo career. So if you like the Talking Heads stuff back in the day, listen to David Byrne's most recent releases. He's put out 2 albums in the last 5 years that, to me, are just they continue the legacy of how great Talking Heads.
The song is called "The Big Country," and Mike's right. I've seen him play live recently.
His live shows are amazing.
Yeah, they're tremendous. Let's get into a couple more. I know Sting's "Fragile" is one that is really a touching song for you. You want to tell everybody why?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever analyzed the lyrics of "Fragile" by Sting, but it's all about how senseless violence is. It's the song that I post on Facebook a lyric from whenever there's a school shooting. And sadly, that's been way too often.
Too many posts.
Yeah, too many posts. And to the point where I have friends who say when they see a line from Fragile, they go, uh-oh, they know. Like they know now, I gotta go check the news. Where did that latest school shooting or mall shooting or movie theater shooting happen? So this isn't an anti-gun rant, but it's it's just so senseless how violence can be, and I think Sting captured that perfectly. Sting wrote that song about a real life event, but he didn't write it. He wrote it broadly enough that it doesn't have to speak just to that event that happened in the early '80s. It works, sadly works for any tragic event.
And not to get too heavy, but Creedence Clearwater Revival "Fortunate Son" is my favorite protest song of all time. It came out in the 1960s, and it was basically about the rich kids didn't get drafted to go to Vietnam. It was everybody else. I'm no fortunate son. Glad you picked that one. You want to give?
Yeah, I give credit to. I had Jake as a beta reader, and another friend of mine, who some of you might know, Randy Bartlett, and I had sent him like the first 20 essays. And he said, have you already decided on the other 20? And I said, I have a lot in mind, but I haven't said. And he said, listen to Fortunate Son, I think it should make it. And I don't think I really appreciated that song until Randy kind of, not introduced me to it, but challenged me to analyze it. And you're right, it's a great protest song because it's not only anti-war, but it's anti-class system. That's what he's saying. Like it's not the military son. They don't have to go to war. They get the bone spurs. It's the middle class and lower class who get drafted to go to war and are cannon fodder.
It ain't race, folks. It's class.
Exactly.
So that's my speech. 2 more before we open it to the audience. I'm a big punk rock guy, and I saw that you picked Richard Hell and the Voidoids' "Blank Generation," which is one of my all-time favorites. He only did 1 record, in fact, because he was a Lower East Side punk who had his issues. But he made one great record, and this song in particular has some incredible lyrics. He's a guy who saw himself as a poet, sort of in the Rimbaud type of poets, the French poets. Why'd you pick that one?
Yeah, so Richard Hell, like you said, he moved to New York City to make it as a poet, and similar to Leonard Cohen, realized not a lot of money in poetry. So at the time, the punk rock scene was just starting to ferment in the mid-'70s. So he first was in television, and then left television and formed his own band. And he has a song called Blank Generation that it saddens me that most people aren't even aware of the song and don't consider it one. You know, most people when they think of early punk, they think of the Ramones, they think of the Sex Pistols. But while it saddens me, it's also the most punk rock thing ever, right? That Richard Hell, even though I think he deserves to be an icon in the punk rock scene, he's not. A lot of people don't know about him or don't recognize that song. You listen to that song, to me, it encapsulates everything about that era: the apathy, the anger, the feeling of my generation is not going to do anything, we're not going to accomplish anything, and I'm pissed about that. But I'm not even pissed about it, I'm just resigned to that fact. And that, to me, encapsulates everything about that era.
And if you like really interesting guitar, there's a guy named Robert Quine who plays one of the most strangled guitar leads you've ever heard in your life. One more before we turn it over, and this is one of my all-time favorite artists, and I love that you picked this one. There's some other ones I would have picked, but Van Morrison's Into the Mystic really takes you places.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't write it, thank you. Yeah, that to me, listen, Van, I could have picked any 20 Van Morrison songs could have made this book, but I love that song. Every once in a while, it's a wedding song for me, and when I see that, I go, I think to myself, you are a cool couple, because that is a cool song. The way he incorporates the timelessness of this love, and also the nautical themes. Until I really listened closely, I didn't hear the horn, the nautical horn, and it's brilliant that he incorporated that, but I never really listened that closely to the song until I was prepping the book. And yeah, that to me is one of the great. Every once in a while you hear a love song and you almost get jealous about that relationship. Like I said with Guilty earlier, like I have a beautiful marriage, but I've never thought our love is so good it ought to be illegal. And I think the same thing with Into the Mystic. I go, whatever relationship he was writing about, God man, that's a great relationship. You're almost envious of it.
Well, he's Van the man. What can you say? So we are going to open this up. Do we have an audience mic, or do I have to play Phil Donahue? I might have to play Phil.
I think Bobby's got it.
Okay,
Bobby is the man.
Bobby is the man. So, Bobby Rakowski, fellas.
Yeah. I'd love to hear a quick, not too long. I'd love to hear a song and a sentence or two of why you think it should have been in the book.
Also, please tell us who you are and where you're from first.
So, my name is Kevin. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm not saying it should have been in your book, but I mean, a little bit about this song. A lot of you may not know this artist. Unfortunately, you may have heard him in the news because he passed away in a motorcycle accident. Glenn Hansard, who was influenced by Leonard Cohen, Van Morrison, and Bob Dylan. The song is called "A Song of Good Hope." He wrote it for a friend who was battling cancer, so that speaks to me. Many deaths, and probably everybody knows someone that's battled cancer. But more, it's about battling demons. And I just think it's a beautiful song. I mean, people might know Falling Slowly, because that was his thing with the Broadway and the movie that won the Grammy, but it's just a beautiful song. His music should be listened to.
Quick show of hands, how many people have seen the movie once? Wow.
Exactly.
Guys, or gals, stream it as soon as you get home. If you love music, it is a love letter. It's similar to this movie, Almost Famous. It is a love letter to busking and songwriting and producing music. It is a phenomenal song, and you'll fall in love with Glenn Hansard, unfortunately, too late, because he passed away last week. Great movie, great movie.
So, here we go.
Jerry,
you got a mic?
Yes, so first of all, Mike, I have a piece of art to give some advice. You and I have a lot of conversations about music that's not the norm. When I have conversations with certain people, they sit in this DJ pocket and they don't know things out of their comfort zone. If you have any advice to how to expand your musical palette That would be wonderful.
Jerry, my advice would be, I think we all got into DJing because we love music. But then at some point, like I said earlier, I think too many DJs, they become myopic, where the only songs that they really care about is, they put it through the prism of, will this pack my dance floor now? I think I saw it recently when Bruno Mars dropped his newest album earlier in the year. All the feedback I saw from my DJ friends on Facebook was, nah, I don't hear anything that's gonna rock my dance floor. Like, so, I mean, there are other purposes for music, and I think we all got into this industry because we knew that, but then at some point we just start narrowing our tastes, and my advice would be go back to understanding, I love hearing a song that I go, I'll never get to play that again. I love that, because now that song is my own. You know, one of the songs you didn't ask me about was, I actually have a Christmas song in this book.
Oh, I love that. I'm sorry I left that.
No, it's okay, but can anybody guess which Christmas song well, some of you read the book. The John Lennon song. Because Lennon...
John Ennio.
Yeah, and what the genius of that song was John Lennon wrote an anti-war song that would get played every year around Christmas time. Genius, just like Mariah Carey, she gets into the top 10 now every year around Christmas time. And I don't play that song at gigs. I mean, it wouldn't really be appropriate at a holiday party anyway, but I love the fact that that song doesn't get burned out for me, so when I hear it around the holidays, I can enjoy it. I'm not going, oh, I've heard this song 50 million times, like the Mariah Carey song.
Right, and the other great Christmas song is Fairy Tale of New York. I have to buy the credits.
I love Fairy Tale. Yeah.
And then my song, Desert Moon by Dennis DeYoung.
Okay.
Ooh, Six guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So is that Six or solo Dennis DeYoung?
No, solo
Okay.
Dennis DeYoung.
I'll have to go.
And it's that textbook, kid leaves town, leaves the little town, leaves the girl behind,
Love it.
goes back and nobody knows him.
Love it.
And it's pretty cool.
Okay, we have time for a few more.
Mark. How are you, Mark?
Good, how are you?
Good, man.
So you talked about a Christmas song. Coming from a Jew, I thought I would say something else. Sorry, just being honest, right? So here's the willy dealio. The situation is that I think one of the greatest Christmas songs is one of the most underrated Christmas songs. I recommend everyone check it out. It's Silent Night. Now, not what you think though, but by Elvin Bishop. It is by far the funkiest version of Silent Night you will ever hear. You can call me later and thank me for that tip, okay? You've heard it before, right?
Yeah, I fooled around and had eggnog, is that what?
What's that?
I fooled around and fell in love. The same guy?
The same
Elvin
guy.
Bishop?
Well, the same band, right? So Elvin Bishop, there's kind of this toss-up, is it a band or is it a guy? So
No, it's a guy. Yeah.
It's a guy, but it's kind of, I don't know. I'll let you, when you really look at
Now
what the band is about.
Now I'm curious. I saw Elvin Bishop when I was 13 when he fooled around and fell in love as a kid. Yeah, he's actually a hell of a guitar player.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so I recommend that. And also, I had mentioned to you, Mike, that one of my favorite songs was Listen to the Music by the Doobie Brothers. Absolutely, you can put it on repeat, stick it on a desert island, and I'll be happy for the rest of my life because I feel like it's what we do for a living. Did you ever consider that song for your book?
It's actually in there. It's in the book. I knew when
I read the book.
There are a lot of songs that celebrate music. Just like there are a lot of movies that celebrate movies. It seems to be that artists like to celebrate what they do. And so I knew I had to include one of the songs that celebrate music in this book. And to me, the Doobie Brothers Listen to the Music is the greatest of them. So yes, there's a write-up. Jim did not ask me about every single song.
I would go with OJ's I Love Music.
Yeah, that's a great one too. Yes, great one.
Question.
Hi.
My name is DJ Ellis. I'm from Youngstown, Ohio.
Welcome.
My favorite song, since we've been kind of talking about some older music here, I suppose, is my favorite song is Mike and the Mechanics in the Living Years.
Oh, great song.
My dad was a DJ, and that's the whole reason I'm here at age 29. And I figured since the song is about like carrying on a legacy and giving lasting impressions for a lifetime, that the song was fitting.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I like Bruce Springsteen's Youngstown as well, by the way.
Yeah, I know Todd is not happy with me. A Bruce song did not make the book. I considered a few. Definitely Jungle Land would have if I could. I just didn't, and I'm sorry. I've been asked to do another version, and Jungle Land will make version 2 if I ever sit down.
Well, you gotta put Atlantic City in there.
Yeah, that's another great one too. Yeah, maybe I can do a Springsteen and the E Street Band, and then a Springsteen solo.
Boy, but there's a lot of books already out there. All right, what else we have?
All right, have you heard the urban legend? Because I heard it once, I don't know its resource, but Mama say, Mama sa, Mama kusa, right? And I've actually looked up and there's lyrics right there. But someone said originally once, it says, I'm gonna say, you're gonna say, I'm gonna stop, I'm not gonna stop. You're gonna stay, I'm gonna stop, I'm not gonna stop.
You mean that's what Michael Jackson was originally going to say?
That's what the ladies were singing.
I never heard that.
Okay.
But the chant is from, what's the proto disco song? I'm drawing a blank. But then, say it. So yes, yeah.
Solo Casa.
Yeah, the Mama Say Mama Sa Makusa chant is from that. So he borrowed it and never got rights for it.
I just heard it as an urban legend once, and I just wanted
No, I never heard that. No.
And Superstition, by the way, I think just because of its format, the chords, the beats per minute, that would be my
Yeah, Mike, no Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, no Stevie Wonder. When I talked about songs that celebrate songs, I thought about Sir Duke.
The beginning of that song.
Yeah, but yeah, I just didn't get to a Stevie Wonder song. Sorry.
Version 2. Go for it.
So, Mike, a two-part question. One, did any song make both books?
Oh, plenty of them.
Okay, and number two, why didn't Bye Bye American Pie make it into this book?
I don't know. I think Bye Bye American Pie has a little cheese factor to it. I don't know, maybe my own personal bias, maybe it deserved to be in there, but I'll be honest with you, it didn't even enter I probably considered 100 songs before now, and now to the 40 I wrote about, it didn't even make that top 100. Maybe it also falls under the Stairway to Heaven, Bohemian Rhapsody. Maybe it was too obvious.
Very obvious.
Yeah. Great song.
Over here?
Great, yeah. And that is written about on the State of Music, obviously.
So, Rock and Rita from Northern Michigan, Alana Miles, Black Velvet, about Elvis.
Oh, great song. Fantastic song, yeah. Didn't make the book, but yes, that's a great song.
I was like, it probably won't make Mike's book.
Very sultry, yeah. I think one of my issues with that song, not that it should be an issue, but I've seen so many singers do it so well in karaoke that I almost forget the original, because to me that's a karaoke song.
In the back here?
Can I just shamelessly plug that I do have books available if anybody's interested? I know a lot of hands went up, so a lot of you guys have it already, gals.
And I'll offer a shameless plug. The book's a hell of a fun read, and you'll fly through it.
Cool. So Ezra Washington, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Erykah Badu off of Mama's Gun, Green Eyes, his last track, the last one. It's like 3 movements. It's kind of like the 3 stages of grief after a breakup. It's a fantastic song. I can't, once you start it, I just can't not listen to the whole thing. It's crazy.
So it's the last track on her album?
It's the last track on Mama's Gun.
I promise you I'll go listen to it and analyze it, but I want to use that as an offshoot. I actually put together a Spotify playlist recently of last album tracks. I have a theory that a lot of artists put their personal favorite song as the last track of their album. Not the most commercial, not the hookiest, but I think artists sometimes think, look, I gave you 10 songs for you, here's a song for me. And if you listen to albums with that, now I'm not saying every last track of every album, but a lot of last tracks are
really good,
trippier and spacier and maybe way less commercial, but you go, wow. So I will definitely listen to it, but I'm also going to listen to it in that light. I wonder if Erykah Badu said, you know what, I'm putting my best favorite artistic song at the end of this album.
One of my favorite bands of all time is The Replacements, a band from Minnesota in the 80s. And the last song on all the records is always the best song.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so the song that I would like to share is a song that is part of the soundtrack of my life, is One Love by Bob Marley. I think a song like that, which is so simple, the words are so simple, but so powerful, and it connects everyone here spiritually. So that's one of the many reasons why I think
and
that's
talk about the
song.
timeless nature of music. That song is twice as old as you are. And so obviously it was released way before you were born, and yet somehow it connects to you.
What's crazy is Bob Marley had 0 hits in America when he was alive. And he got discovered after his death in 1981. But
his greatest hits album.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, go back and if you haven't listened to Bob Marley's record, Bob Marley and the Wailers in particular, it's some great music.
Hi, yes, Kenny Morris from Boston, Mass. I got Bobby Gentry's Ode to Billy Joel. The nuances has been studied from so many different perspectives of the characteristics in that song.
I love that song. That was a little kid song for me, and there was a really bad movie they made in the 70s with Robbie Benson.
It's not that bad.
Okay.
It's not bad. I love story songs. I love songs that tell a story, and that is definitely one of the great ones, yes.
Mike, you mentioned you have Spotify Blast songs. Do you have Your House from Jagged Little Pill?
Oh, definitely. Is that in that playlist? Yeah.
Also, just speaking of random songs, Allure's Allure 112, which is the cover of Lisa and the Cult Jam, just because of the lyrics, all cried out. Apology not accepted, add me to the broken hearts you've collected. I just happened to take that.
Yeah, I think breakups are powerful impetuses for songs, and some to me, some of the greatest songs are breakup songs are some of the greatest.
And some artists have made a career out of it.
Yeah. Whoever pissed Alanis Morissette off right before Jack, that guy deserves some flowers. Yeah. He helped inspire one of the great albums of all time.
Yeah, there's a singer-songwriter named Lucinda Williams who some of her best songs are all about getting broken up with.
Yeah, listen, we're about to find out from Taylor Swift that she writes music when she's happy. She's made a career out of breakup songs, but who knows? And at some point we might have to say, Travis, you gotta leave this girl because she's gotta go back to writing some good music. So who knows? We'll find out.
So we have time for one more question. Do we have one? Bobby, your choice.
If there's somebody more worthy.
Go ahead, don't be humble.
Actually, this is kind of a new challenge maybe for Mike too, but I've often thought that one of the greatest songs can also be one of the greatest songs never heard. And by that I mean either deep cuts from albums or one of my that stuck out that I didn't want to pile on. It's a song called A Kiss Goodbye, and it's from the soundtrack for City of Industry, except it's not. It was on the original pressing, and Epic Records pulled it because the group 88 Butterfly refused to sign a record deal with Epic Records. She self-produced an album called Coming Out. I think that's it. Anyhow, and the song is, it was Taylor Swift before Taylor Swift, and it is so good because it just has such great instrumentation and everything, and it really tells the story. But what was crazy, like I said, is it never ended up. It's in the movie, it's in the soundtrack, but it never got.
Well, that's why DJs are pretty good because they're curious and they find these things. Right. And ultimately, that's really what you need to be with music. I mean, I try to be as open-minded as possible about it. I'll give you an example. I've never liked the Grateful Dead, but about every 7 years, I try. I give it a shot. I watched their 4-hour documentary twice, wondering if I'm missing something, but I'm still open to them.
You know what the Grateful Dead fan said when he stopped smoking pot? This band sucks.
So, wait, one quickie. Yes.
My all-time favorite songs, Christmas songs, is I Believe in Father Christmas.
Oh, beautiful song. Yeah.
Hallelujah, Noel.
That's Greg Lake, actually.
Greg Lake.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
The Christmas we get, we deserve. What a great line.
Done.
Yeah.
So everybody, Mike Walter.